Call to order the February 5th meeting of the Brentwood Board of Aldermen. If you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Here.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims. Here. Alderman Weggie.
Here.
Mayor Thornton.
Here.
When he changed things, so that's.
Okay, I think we have a quorum. Item number 3 on the agenda this evening is approval of this evening's agenda. Are there any changes or amendments to tonight's agenda?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
With regard to the resolution section, Resolution 1087, you have headings indicating presentation by staff, questions by aldermen, and discussion. Do you anticipate us discussing this resolution and bringing it to a vote tonight? Or does the way that that's written just suggest that it's going to be discussed to be voted on some other time?
It actually will be, I assume it's moved, and assuming it's moved by one of the aldermen, yes, I plan to have a vote on it.
Okay.
The resolution itself will be, I think it'll be self-explanatory.
Right. Okay. That's just the question I had.
Sure. Any other changes to tonight's agenda? Any objection to approval by acclamation? Seeing none, it'll be approved by acclamation. Item number 4, we don't have any minutes from the previous meeting to approve tonight.
That
no?
is correct.
That is
It
correct.
will be on the next agenda.
All right, very good. Item number 5 on tonight's agenda. We have a couple of presentations to make. The first one is to the City of Brentwood. We won an award for financial accounting. And I've asked Mayor Kramer, you've been promoted.
Wishful thinking.
Alderman Lockmiller had a heart attack.
Everything's sliding.
I've asked Alderman Kramer to read some information about this award. So, Alderman Kramer.
Surely, Your Honor. This is regarding the Government Finance Officers Association. That's a major professional association that services the needs of nearly 19,000 appointed and elected local, state, provincial level government officials and other finance practitioners. Out of Chicago, Illinois, the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has been awarded to the City of Brentwood by Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, GFOA, for its comprehensive annual financial report, otherwise known as the CAFR. Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of government accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by government and its management. An award of financial reporting achievement has been awarded to the individuals or department designated by the government as primarily responsible for preparing the award-winning CAFR. CAFR has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, which includes demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the CAFR. Once again, this has been issued and awarded to the City of Brentwood, January 10th, 2018.
All right, and for those of you at home, this is the actual award. So, probably more importantly, we have the individual and representatives from her department that is probably most responsible for us receiving this award. Without further ado, I'd like to recognize Karen Shaw. Karen has received the Award of Financial Reporting Achievement, which, as Tom said, is the highest award that the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States presents. And Karen, we know you're really good, but now everybody else does too. So thank you very much. Item number 6 on tonight's agenda. We are lucky to have with us an Eagle Scout. For those of you who don't know, the scouting program, Eagle is the highest rank you can achieve in scouting. It takes a great deal of effort and time to make it. I myself never quite got that far. I was a Star and Life Scout, but never quite made Eagle. But I'm always really impressed with the folks that do. And tonight we have with us one of Brentwood's newest Eagle Scouts, Zachary Amari Arundel. So, Alderman Kramer, if you would read the proclamation in honor of Zach.
Absolutely, Your Honor. This is in recognition of Eagle Scout Zachary Amari Arundel. And whereas that fine young gentleman is a senior at Brentwood High School, he serves as the vice president of the Brentwood High School debate team, where he has earned numerous first-place awards. Zachary enjoys wrestling, music, traveling, and public speaking. He completed recently a 2-week summer forensic debate program with special recognition from Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. Zachary volunteers at the Laclede Grove Senior Living Center and assists seniors with their activities of daily living. And whereas the purpose of the Boy Scouts of America, incorporated on February 8, 1910, and chartered by Congress in 1916, is to provide an educational program for boys and young adults to build character, to train in the responsibilities of participating citizenship, and of course to develop personal fitness. Zachary grew up in the scouting program as an active member of Boy Scout Troop 361. And whereas Zachary chose to design a 3-foot by 3-foot community library structure for children and families to obtain and exchange free books to improve literacy in an undeserved inner-city community. Zachary also raised $1,200 via GoFundMe efforts and solicited donations from area businesses to purchase building materials, supplies, and books. He also recruited, coordinated, and led a group of over 20 volunteers to construct, complete, and the project, the construction that we just talked about. Whereas the scouting program has shaped Zachary to do his best for God and country. Inspired by leaders in scouting and the community, he's learned how everyone can contribute to the good of all. The challenges of the scouting program have provided many fond memories and have taught him to persevere in the face of challenges. And whereas Zachary earned 31 merit badges, earning him the Gold Palm distinction. And whereas through his active community involvement and citizenship, Zachary has demonstrated his personal character of living the Scout oath and law in his daily life, and is shown to be an asset to our Brentwood community. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Christopher Thornton, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Brentwood, and on behalf of the Board of Aldermen for the city of Brentwood, do hereby congratulate Eagle Scout Zachary Amari Arundel for his accomplishments and further urge everyone to continue to support the Boy Scouts of America in their endeavors this 5th day of February 2018.
I'm sure you will. That's all right.
Good job, Zachary. Good job.
All right, well, the funnest part of the meeting is over. We'll move on to item number 7. We don't have any public hearings this evening, but we do have one bid. We have tabulation and dissemination of agenda software.
Right, so
Paula?
thank you, Mayor Thornton. That is the agenda management solution. Last September, I had the opportunity to attend the International City County Management Association in San Antonio, and while there, I had the opportunity to sit next to a colleague of mine from O'Fallon, Missouri. We started talking about the weekly, monthly agenda management process and the challenge to ensure that it's error-free, we deliver it timely, and with all the supporting documentation. And she indicated to me that they had gone through the same thing in O'Fallon, Illinois. And by the way, there are vendors in the exhibition hall that I should probably go visit to see what software they had, and I did so. And one of the vendors that I allowed to show me their workflow process was Board Docs. While I was there, I called Karen and asked if we had money in the budget so that we could implement this, or at least bring it to Ways and Means. She indicated to me that we could. So we've been working on this since September with the assistance of our IT department. And what this pretty much will do is ensure that we have a workflow process. We build into this module different levels of permission, email notification, so that when department directors have submitted an item to be placed on the agenda, they provide their supporting documentation. It goes to finance for review. Make sure that we're referencing the budgeted item so that we know that if there's a related financial component to this, we've checkmarked, made sure it's there. It will then go back to legal review, city attorney, to make sure that the legislation is complete and timely, and then it will come back to administration for the deputy city clerk and I to review. I hope to implement this further down the line to the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, the Board of Adjustment meetings, the Architecture Review Board committees, but for starters, this will be for the Board of Aldermen meetings and the committee meetings. So I will ask Janet to come present the 3 vendors that we had them do a demonstration for our staff.
Thank you, Bola. So with the information that Bola brought back from her conference, a few of us on the staff did some more in-depth research. We contacted Board Docs that Bola had mentioned, as well as Granicus and iCompass, and we did thorough demonstrations with each of the 3 companies, really analyzed what our current process was, what each of the 3 companies offered, and in reviewing all of them, we felt that the Board Docs solution would be the best for the city of Brentwood. And so we have I think you have the proposal summary that shows kind of the overview of what each of the 3 companies would offer and the costs for each of those. With Board Docs, we found it was really customizable for what we would need. We'd be able to use it for the different meetings and committees. It's very easy to use, and we don't have to buy any hardware. That was one of the big selling points for us. With the other 2 companies, we would have to purchase a hardware device. And so we felt that that was a big impediment that we thought would not work as well for us. So therefore, we're recommending Board Docs.
Any questions about the bid tabulation? Okay, thank you, Janet.
Thanks.
All right, that moves us to item number 9 on the agenda, hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. Would anyone care to come forward and address the Board of Aldermen? Any topic you like. 3 minutes. Now's your chance for fame, fortune. All right, you'll get another chance later in the meeting. Do we have any unfinished business this evening? Don't think so. And I don't believe we have any bills to be given a first reading, or a second reading for that matter. That puts us on item 13, bills to be given a first and second reading. The first one is item number 13A, bill number 6179. Mr. City Attorney, can we have first reading by title only, please?
Bill number 6179, first reading, an ordinance. An ordinance approving an agreement with Convergent Communications for communications support services.
Alderman Kramer, could you give us a synopsis?
Surely, Your Honor. Bill 6179, as we heard from the title, covers an agreement with Convergent Communications for support services for our communications. The IT department would like to change service providers on our maintenance and support contract for our citywide ShoreTel VoIP, or Voice over Internet Protocol phone system. The current provider is the Brookfield Group, formerly Ideacom. In the third quarter of 2017, the main ShoreTel engineer for the Brookfield Group left the company, and our service levels appear to have declined dramatically. We found ShoreTel knowledge to be extremely lacking. We're unable to get a timely response to some of the more difficult issues we were still working through. We were eventually told we would have to contact ShoreTel directly and pay them for support, as the Brookfield Group was unable to fix a particular problem. We've also noticed a lack of ShoreTel knowledge and long response times and other issues we have had since that time. This led us to contact other providers of ShoreTel support and maintenance when the current contract came up for renewal February 1st of this year. After reviewing and receiving proposals from 2 other companies, we decided we'd like to move forward with the new ShoreTel support contract with Convergent Communications. Our Ways and Means Committee has reviewed and recommended approval for the Board of Aldermen to consider tonight, this evening's meeting, first and second readings of a bill that would provide an ordinance approving that ShoreTel support and maintenance contract with Convergent. This is bill number 6179.
All right, thank you, Alderman Kramer. I believe that Darren Young is with us this evening to answer any questions that the board might have about this support agreement. Darren, is there anything you want to share with the board that we didn't cover?
The only thing I wanted to say is they did make that change to the, when we went in front of the Ways and Means Committee, they'd asked for some wording change, and they, Convergent Communications did make that change.
Yeah, I believe it had something to do with indemnification, and as our city attorney has informed us, the city can't indemnify anybody anyway, so it was, but they did agree to remove it, I
Yes,
think.
and
Yeah.
very timely, I might add.
All right, so apparently they want our business. Alderman Leahy.
One question, Your Honor, if I may, on page one, it's under payments. It's odd that we are seeing that we are being requested to pay the bill in advance of services instead of after services. Is that open for negotiation?
I mean, I haven't talked to them about that, we can ask them about it. This is, again, we're paying for a full year of support for the system. That's normally how we do IT-related contracts for support. But
Is
we-
it pay in advance?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's how I bill all my customers. I find it helps me get paid.
Well, I just find it odd. I'm not aware of a whole lot of bills that we do pay in advance. that
It
we don't-
is-
It's not unusual in this field. Yeah.
Looking at all the contracts I've seen, that is the norm in the industry.
Okay, thank you.
And in fact, I think we raised that question at some point with these and other vendors, and there was no movement on that point.
The problem is it's really hard to repossess services.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Second reading.
Mr. City Attorney, can we have the second reading by title only, please?
Bill number 6179, second reading and consideration for adoption and ordinance approving an agreement with Convergent Communications for communications support services.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to perfect bill number, somebody help me out here.
6179.
6179
up,
into
Alderman
ordinance
Dimmitt.
form. I had this one.
Second,
reading another
Your
one,
Honor.
Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded that the board perfect bill number 6179 into ordinance form. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
I count 8 ayes and 0 noes, so passage is unanimous.
Are we done?
Oh, yeah, go
Bill
ahead.
number 6179 passes, and upon signature of the mayor, becomes ordinance 4821.
Or something like that.
All right, that brings us to item 13B on the agenda is bill number 6180. Mr. City Attorney, can we have the first reading by title only, please?
Yes, sir. Bill number 6180, first reading. An ordinance approving an agreement with Emerald Data Solutions for agenda compilation and dissemination services.
All right, thank you. Alderman Kramer, could we have a synopsis, please?
Surely, Your Honor, a little bit greater detail for 6180, the bill that covers agenda compilation and dissemination services. For our city, we're in the current process for compiling, reviewing, approving, and distributing Board of Aldermen and committee meeting agendas and minutes. It's a very labor-intensive process, time-consuming, and very inefficient. Existing technology on online systems are available to streamline this process. An online agenda management system would increase efficiency, streamline the input and approval process, ensure accuracy, foster transparency, and reduce the amount of paper used. Staff analyzed the current agenda process, identified needs, and researched agenda management system options, and selected 3 companies for further in-depth review. They are Board Docs, Granicus, and iCompass. Staff coordinated presentations and system demonstrations from each of the service providers, as you may have heard earlier. Staff recommends the service provided by Board Docs. Key advantages of that service and system include ease of use, customization, and no hardware to purchase or install. Our Ways and Means Committee has reviewed and recommended approval to the Board of Aldermen this evening. They consider first and second readings of the bill to provide an ordinance approving the agreement with Emerald Data Solutions for the Board Docs Pro Plus Agenda Management Service. This would be at tonight's meeting, and the details are included in bill number 6180.
All right, thank you. Since we went through the bid tabulation, I guess I'll just open it up. Does anybody have any further questions for Bola or Janet on this topic? Alderman Lackmo.
Bola, on the website, there's that E360 that lists our ordinances that we passed, and that doesn't get updated a lot, does it?
It does, annually.
Does it do it?
Right.
would this electronically be able to just forward that on to that?
You would be able to access the ordinances and legislation and resolutions through this
Oh, through this?
portal, right.
Okay. And I guess, can I ask one more?
Sure.
Just for my
Yep.
general information.
Yep.
Mr. O'Keefe, when the mayor signs a bill into ordinance, can it be done electronically, or does it have to be done with a signature?
His signature is a physical act. I
Okay.
mean, he has to indicate his approval in some manifest way. Ordinarily, it's by signing the original of the ordinance.
All right.
Is there,
No, that was just a general question. A lot of times, we seem to be signing things electronically nowadays, and I didn't know if legislation could be signed electronically.
I would not expect that in the near term.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Plufka.
I'm sure this is a stupid question. The meeting management and the page 5 that talks about the ability, one of the things that I found to be cumbersome in the way that we have it now electronically is opening multiple windows at the same time and being able to see them simultaneously and refer back and forth. It looks like this deals with some of that
Right.
in terms of the tabulations and the ease of clicking in and out of
Right.
various topics. Am I reading
This
that right?
is, no, you are. It's
Okay.
to make that simpler.
Okay.
We will no longer be sending you emails with 100 documents attached. We will just send you a link, and then you could just click on that and go through an agenda. I mean, you can do that now.
No, I know.
Because we provide the link through the intranet. So.
But as we're
this
going
would be-
between agenda items and things like that, the tabulation system and the way that it would come to me would be easier for me to
Simpler.
click between them.
Absolutely. You can even take notes and highlight things. Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. City Attorney, can we have second reading by title only, please?
Bill number 6180, second reading and consideration for adoption, an ordinance approving an agreement with Emerald Data Solutions for agenda compilation and dissemination services.
All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve Bill 6180 into ordinance form.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve, perfect Bill number 6180 into ordinance form. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Yes.
Alderman Plufka.
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Wiggy.
Yes.
Bill number 6180 passes, and upon signature of the mayor becomes ordinance 4822.
All right, thank you. Item number 14 on tonight's agenda, we have resolutions. We have two resolutions this evening. The first, if I can get on that page. The first is resolution number 1086, dealing with the fiscal year 2017 budget amendment. Do we have a synopsis? Alderman Kramer, could you read the synopsis, please?
Yes, Your Honor. A little bit of highlights for the Resolution 1086 covers our 2017 budget and the budget amendment for that year. Resolution adopts the fiscal year 2017 budget amendment. Staff has reviewed that budget for that year and identified exceptions, both decreases and increases in the revenue and expenditure line items that require amending. The resolution is to amend the fiscal year 2017 budget for the city's fiscal year running January 1 through December 31st. The total general fund revenues and expenditures are $118,000. That seems like it can't be correct.
I'm sorry.
The total general revenues and expenditures are $118,844.
The change.
Less.
Less. Okay, then. And $151,000 less than what were adopted and budgeted. The capital improvement revenue fund revenue expenditures are $246,500 and $789,000 less than what were adopted and budgeted. The stormwater and parks improvement revenue fund is $832,053 and $1,230,000 more than was originally adopted and budgeted. Lastly, the sewer improvement expenditure is $42,500 more than what was adopted and budgeted. The Ways and Means Committee has reviewed all of these fine details and the policy and recommends approval of resolution number 1086.
All right, thank you. Someone care to make a motion to adopt Resolution 1086?
So moved.
Second.
It's It's been moved and seconded that the board adopt Resolution 1086. Discussion. Alderman Dimmitt.
At the risk of duplicating stupid questions by Alderman Plufka.
So this is
luck.
kind of like in stereo.
That's right.
Yeah, got it.
In the 2018 budget, we have down, well, the 2017 budget shows total revenue of 11.8 and expenditures of 11.5, which I think actually should have been about 11, should have been about 30,000 less. But what we were showing was, was that we were going to spend almost all of our revenue coming in, right? You with me on that? Okay. But, so when we're talking, but in reality, it looks like we're about $1 million to the good in the general fund and $1 million to the good in the stormwater. Is that what we're estimating?
It was my understanding there would be no math. We have the award-winning Karen Shaw in the audience, and I'm going to defer all such questions to our award-winning financial director. So there you go.
Okay, I don't know that I understand the question.
Yeah, well, I just thought the meeting was going too fast. I thought we'd try to slow it down.
I don't have the
Mission
budget in front of me, I
accomplished.
just have the budget.
Would you like it?
Okay.
So,
When we were discussing the 2018 budget, we were looking at the numbers for 2017, and we were estimating, or staff was estimating, that the general fund revenue would exceed the expenditures by close to about $1 million.
Thank you. Excuse me.
So we're going to put $1 million into the fund, the general fund, approximately. And the same thing for, I think it was stormwater and parks improvement. Does that ring a bell?
We did not, you said it would exceed?
Well, we're going to about $1 million.
Revenue would exceed.
Revenue would exceed expenditure?
Right.
Because we always transfer money from general fund to capital for the streets, and primarily, I think, streets in 17. So I don't know that when we budget, we expect expenditures to exceed revenue. That would not be a balanced budget.
No, not that we would.
Okay.
Because that wouldn't be balanced. No, what we're budgeting is that the revenue would be 30,000 more over the expenditures. That's what the budget
Okay,
was.
right.
But then when we're looking at the numbers to prepare the 2018
18,
budget,
right.
we're saying, okay, revenue didn't go up any, but
As
we weren't
much.
spending as much as we had
Exactly,
budgeted.
exactly.
To the tune of about $1 million
Right,
less
right.
than
and you
what
were
we thought it
talking
was going
about
to be.
when the
Right.
department heads put what they thought it was gonna cost to get to the end of the year.
Right,
Right?
right.
That's what you're talking about.
Okay, and all I just wanted to make sure of is that these amendments to the budget, that doesn't change any of those numbers,
No.
right? Because it's the general fund total, not by line item.
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
And also, when the department heads gave that, what I think it's gonna take to finish was back in the summer, or,
Okay.
whatever. So, well, maybe like September. So when this is done, 2 or 3 months later, there's a little bit better picture, so.
Right.
This is the most accurate.
okay, thank you.
Alderman Plufka.
I just have one question, sorry. It's a pretty slight one, too, but it's on, I don't know what page this is, but it's in the Stormwater and Park Improvement Fund. It says that there's, the line item is salaries part-time for the rink building manager. We're budgeted at $59,613, and they actually came in at $65,613. And the reason was a decrease due to actual expenses. Should that have been increased due to
Are
actual
you
expenses?
talking about the very, 69,000?
The salaries, there was a
Yeah,
It's
decrease.
actually the very last one? was the-
No,
Yeah,
it-
full-time salaries, because we have
Part-time
vacancies-
salaries.
Part-time salaries.
For-
It's sort of in the middle, in the expenditures
okay,
part.
got it.
Part-time park.
Should it say increase and not decrease there? It went from
It
59,000
should
as
say-
budgeted?
It should say increase. I think that's what we saw
That's
when
what
we
I was
met with Alderman Lee.
But that was in that was in
That was
sewer.
Sewer.
expenditures. His is in the department.
No, this is expenditure under Parks and Stormwater.
Right.
Salaries, part-time admin. You're asking if that explanation should say decrease, right?
It should
It's
say,
your
I'm
actual
saying it should say increase. because we actually spent $65,000 when it was budgeted at 59.
You're looking
Yes.
at the
I don't
Vink
see it.
building
Yes.
manager.
Yes,
am.
it should say increase.
Yes,
It should
correct.
say increase.
But when, can you see the one above it? I just copied right on down, but you're
Yeah.
correct, it should be increased.
Okay.
Correct. It
And
should
there's
say
one
increase.
more that Alderman Leahy found on, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Last page.
Sewer. Under the sewer expenditure,
Salaries
salaries
full-time.
full-time,
That should say
45
increase.
increase, that should be an increase, and that was due to reclassification by
Got it.
compensation person.
That was the second question I was going to ask, and it was just a question of just making it clear that,
Right.
okay, when we submit this, that the reason is,
It's clear.
Correct.
it's clear from what's there.
Right.
That it's just
Right, you're right.
Yeah, I was going to ask a follow-up. We got the pluses and minuses right,
The
right?
pluses and minuses, I can assure you're right. I'm better
Right,
at
the important
numbers than
columns
I
are
am
right.
at English.
And that's the only thing I had a question about. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Lockwood.
All the narratives should just say change because.
Right.
I'm gonna make a note of that, thank you.
Plus or minus.
Anything else?
Yeah, Karen?
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the first page of revenues under general fund, if I don't see sales tax in any of those lines, does that mean sales tax came in as expected?
Sales tax, well, this was done back in December, so, yeah, we don't think that there needed to be a change for them.
There's not going to be any significant change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up or down for sales tax.
So you kind of budgeted right on what you thought?
Well, I don't
was.
know, right on, but,
Close.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
We get to, in the audit, do 60 days of what we receive in January and February, make an adjustment back to the books for that, because that's earned revenue for the month, for the year 2017. So we're still getting revenue, so, you
And
know,
if you remember this past holiday season, people really had the means to go shopping, so we're hoping that
Right.
it benefited us to the positive. So
Right.
we'll be bringing that to Ways and Means and have a chance to discuss that again.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is the board ready for a vote on the resolution? Let's have a roll call, please.
Alderman Dennett,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Okay, that makes, by my count, that's 8 ayes and 0 nays. So Resolution 1086 is adopted and the budget will be so amended. Let's see, item number 14B is Resolution number 1087. Alderman Kramer, do we have synopsis, please?
Yes, sir, we do. This covers the execution and delivery of our certificates of participation topic. The Board of Aldermen has determined that extensive improvements to and in the vicinity of Deer Creek will simultaneously protect substantial portions of the city from ravages of flooding and expand the trail system available to city residents, thereby protecting and enhancing the health, safety, and welfare of the city and all of its residents, revitalizing the city's economic engine, and providing both new employment opportunities and enhanced public revenue to support critical public services for city residents. Noted also is the public program of improvements known as the Manchester Renewal Project requires a significant financial investment and an ongoing commitment of civic resources. The Board of Aldermen believes it is in the best interest of the community to continue the design, engineering, and permitting for the Manchester Renewal Project, and to acquire land in connection therewith, and to proceed with the issuance of approximately $43 million in principal amount of certificates of participation to pay those costs. The Board of Aldermen desires to authorize Stiefel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, heretofore to be known as underwriter, and Gilmore and Bell PC, a special tax counsel, to proceed with and take the actions required to deliver those certificates, including the preparation of a preliminary official statement relating to the certificates and any and all other documents necessary in connection therewith, subject to final approval by the Board of Aldermen. The city also authorizes and directs the underwriter to take part and proceed with such actions as may be required to deliver those certificates, subject to the Board of Aldermen's approval of the final terms of the transaction. Such approval also to be in the complete discretion of the Board of Aldermen. Many of the details and more found in Resolution number 1087.
All right, thank you. This one is sort of mine, so I'll talk a bit on it and then we can open it up for discussion. So this is what we discussed primarily at the special meeting of the Board of Aldermen in January. And what I did was I took some of the feedback that I received from the board at that meeting and talked to the folks at Stiefel about it, and also to Mark Grimm over at Gilmore Bell. They came up with a couple of different plans that would address a couple of the concerns that we discussed. And the first one is, if you remember sort of the maps that overlaid, one of the plans that they came up with that I asked them to look at was the possibility of carving out a notch on the front so that the debt over the next 6 years, I think it was, 7 years, till 2024, 6 years, would be not as high, so as to take account of the fact that we haven't reached the point where the other TIFs have expired, and then to kind of go up from there. The net impact of that notch was about $3 million on the total proceeds, so it would be about $40 million if we go with that structure versus $43 million on the total proceeds. So, you know, the bottom line is, and then I asked them to look at a slightly lower debt structure for the whole thing and say a net aggregate of $3 million. And that also shaves some money off of the total proceeds. But the gist of it is that neither one of those had a material impact on our ability to proceed with the project as we discussed. And so, based on kind of that analysis, what I asked them to do was, go ahead and recommend a structure like that, get moving on preparing the documents, getting the underwriting lined up and all of that, and then bring back one of the structures to the board for final approval. So that's what this resolution does, is authorizes us to go ahead and engage them to get the documentation ready, to continue analyzing kind of the specific structures, and then come back to the board with a recommendation for final approval on a final structure. Alderman Plufka.
How big's the notch?
About $500,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would go from, say, 3.2
$500,000 in debt or debt service?
Yeah, debt service.
Okay.
So it'd be about 2.7.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which
Because
would,
am I right, am I remembering it correctly that the refinancing of current debt with regard to the firehouse and rec center puts us at slightly over $1 million? Or no, $800,000, is that right? In
yeah,
debt
so
service?
840 is our current level for the current long-term participation. We have a short-term, we have a lease, a short-term lease.
Okay.
It'll go off a year from now, 2 years from now. And then we also have, 2 short-term leases.
And that the addition of, without a notch, if the addition of $43 million would raise that debt service approximately to?
That would raise it to, for the next 2 years, it would raise it to approximately $3.5 million, and then it would go down from there to $3.2 million aggregate.
Okay. So raising about $2.5 million overall.
Correct. So, and the idea was if we did that $500,000 reduction in debt service over the 6 years on the front end.
Right.
What that would do is allow us to get to the point where the TIFs
For
in
Brentwood,
2024 for the Meridian
Hanley Station.
and for Hanley Station to both retire. So we would keep the present debt low for that period of time, and then the debt service would go up a bit after that, because we anticipate conservatively that those two developments will generate about $1 million in revenue.
And that's from information we get from those two facilities now in terms of what additional
Well,
taxes
as
are
you know, we
going
don't
to-
have direct access to that, but we certainly have access to the TIF agreements, and we can do a reasonable calculation. So again, being overly conservative, we estimate $1 million. In reality, I think Mark Grimm and I came up with an estimate of about 1.5, which we trimmed to about 1.25, and then in an abundance of caution, knocked down to about $1 million.
And this debt service would run out to 2043 approximately?
2043, yes, 25 years.
Thank
That's
you.
the model we're looking at.
Those are the questions I had.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just exactly what we talked about in the workshop.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Further questions, discussions? Board ready for the resolution?
Motion to activate?
Adopt.
Adopt 1087.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board adopt resolution 1087. Roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Wegley.
All right, I count 8 ayes and 0 noes, so 1087 is approved. We will get the finance guys working and be back with a final version. Jim Leahy indicated it would be approximately 45 days.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And maybe this is, the
Yeah.
timing of this is odd, but it's when they come back to us with a specific series of certificates of participation, and we're talking about authorizing the issuance of those certificates, that we will have an opportunity, because that'll come in ordinance form,
Yes.
and that will be something that we'll do on a first and second basis, first and then second basis? And obviously, time for discussion
Yes.
at that point. Thank you.
Alderman Leahy?
In our discussions, we're still looking at a $72 million project. You're covering-
Yes.
You're covering a bill of about 43 million.
Yes.
How and when do we go to find the remaining 30 million that is hanging out there?
Well, as we discussed at the workshop, you know, what we do by doing this at this time is we buy ourselves time to figure that out. You know, obviously, one idea is to go for an economic development sales tax at some time for the voters. We would have an ample amount of time, if we were to take this route, we would have an ample amount of time to go take that to the public at some point. In addition, you know, the folks over at MSD are getting together their own stormwater tax effort that's going to be on the ballot in April of 2019. And it's been suggested that we could work with them on making this a partnership project, much like we're doing with GRG. The other idea is that we have not even begun to scratch the surface of the private funds or charitable contributions that may be available for this type of project. And so, you know, I think, as I said at the workshop, I'll say again, you know, I think if we proceed with this, we get a good ways down the road, we buy ourselves a lot of time to kind of figure out exactly how much more we need and exactly when we can go get it.
But eventually, do you foresee us going to the voters for their involvement in helping to pay the bills?
For their involvement, that almost sounds like you're putting me in a box. You know, look, if we are going to, if we're going to do a sales tax, right, then the voters have to approve it. If we're going to do any other kind of tax, the voters have to approve it. You know, I definitely did recommend to the board, and I stand by the recommendation that I made in November, that an economic development sales tax would be a very efficient and prudent way for the city of Brentwood to pay for this type of large-scale development. Unfortunately, you know, there's other segments of the community that need to approach the voting public for equally necessary funding. And so, in an effort to not conflict with those entities, you know, we've sort of put ourselves in a position to need more time to do that. But yes, at some point in the future, I think, you know, it is very possible that we would go to the voters and perhaps ask them to approve a sales tax or some other form of tax, but I think the sales tax makes the most sense. But I do not think that the entire project is dependent upon that, to be honest with you.
No, we're
I think that this action, if the board decides to take it, is going to be sufficient to ensure that the city moves forward with this project and can get it done.
In our workshop meeting, we also raised the issue about some of our major capital expenditures, the rolling over of the fire equipment, the ambulance, trash trucks and that. In their workup of making this bond proposal working through, they are keeping a secondary eye as to how this indebtedness would affect the potential of doing other capital improvements in order to keep the city services running?
I don't know that I would say, well, you know, I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know what they're doing, to be honest with you. I know that the underwriters are going to be looking at our current budgets, right? And looking at what we're budgeting currently and how we're spending our money currently. I don't know that they look too much further out. But if you
No,
remember,
they do
my
not.
recommendation to the board included a recommendation that while we're pursuing this, we also sit down and do a 5- and 10-year capital plan for the city as a board to ensure that we are taking those things into account as we do them. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And not, this isn't scolding. I like this kind of exchange. I would just say that we probably should be having it while the motion is pending, not.
Well, that's why I said timing was a little odd.
No,
Right.
and like I said, I don't want to scold or chide anybody, but if you could keep in the back of your mind, while the motion's on the floor is probably as good a time as any to have this type of discussion, since we've already voted and passed it. Brandon, don't be laughing at us from Seattle, buddy.
I'm laughing with you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
well,
sure you are.
that's fine.
Come home someday.
All right,
Someday he's gonna have to find himself right here again. Right.
apparently Alderman Lockmiller knows where you live, so.
That's right.
Item number 15 is accounts against the city. I understand that we have two warrant lists this evening. Alderman Dimmitt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do. We have one, just like we did at the last meeting, one to cover the end of 2017 and one for the first month of 2018. And I think what we did last time, we took them separately at the last meeting, so that's how I would prefer that, suggest we do it again. For the 2017 budget year, I went over this with the city administrator, and I got all my questions answered. The main one was on page 2 about Armstrong Teasdale, and I just requested a little more clarification on the explanation for those two invoices as well, and that was it. So, getting those answers, I would make a recommendation for approval of the warrant list for the 2017 budget year in the amount of $55,542.22.
Second, Your Honor.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the warrant list for the 2017 budget year as submitted. Is there any discussion? Alderwoman O'Neill?
I have a question.
Sure.
The next to last item, the worldwide technology budget, this was changed from what we saw in Ways and Means, so that now we have a laptop for the director and one for the Spear projector. These are $1,100 or something each, which seems like a lot for laptops. Is there something with the projector that would mean this is more expensive than?
I'm not sure I understand the question. This has changed from what we saw at Ways and Means.
When we had this at Ways and Means, it said two
During the budget?
laptops for the director.
So this was 2017, is this
This
2017 budget?
explains- this
So
is-
what you saw at Ways and Means was the 2018 budget.
Well, my question is,
So we're ordering two
laptops
laptops,
at
one for the director
$1,100
and one that will always go with the projector, because oftentimes we use the projector here in this building as well. So in terms of cost, that's the going rate. We're buying these off the state contract, so they've already been bidded out. And this is the cheapest we can get it for the type of laptops we're interested in buying.
Macs or PCs?
We don't buy Macs.
Okay. All right, thank you,
Does that answer your question?
sort of.
If it doesn't, I can
Yeah, I
expatiate
mean,
on it.
we're in the business of answering questions,
Yeah,
trust
no,
me.
No, we'll let it go.
Are you
It's
sure?
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, motion to approve the warrant list. Roll call, please. Oh, sorry, motion to approve the warrant list for the 2017 budget. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Prescott,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie. Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
He's worried about Mr. Lockmiller.
There's several over
Steve
time
scared him
difference
off.
there.
That's right. Alderman Dimmitt, but we still have a 2018 budget amendment.
We do.
Or no, sorry, warrant list.
Warrant list, we do, Mr. Chairman, and that is for the period ending February 1st, 2018. And I went over this with the city administrator as well. And the only correction or question that I had was Republic Services for the yard waste and waste removal for Brentwood Forest. And that item was originally under streets, and it's now been moved to sanitation, which shows that we have a much larger line item for that amount instead of the original $6,000. So with that change, I would make a recommendation for approval of the warrant list in the amount of $23,159.72.
Second, Your Honor.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the 2018 warrant list for the period ending February 1st, 2018, in the amount of $23,159.72. Is there any discussion?
Your number again?
The number on my sheet is 23,
So
159,
you
72.
said 123.
Oh, I'm sorry. 23, 159, 72.
Yep.
We're all good?
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
All right, I count a unanimous bill pay vote. All right, so item number 16 on the agenda, reports of departments and committee heads. First up is mine. Several things tonight, but they're all real quick. So the first thing is Dave Resner has resigned from the library board, and I want to thank him for his long service to the community. But that has left an opening on the library board, and I am pleased to make the appointment of Ed Wright to the library board of trustees. Ed's a longtime teacher in the Brentwood School District, and he expressed an interest, and my understanding is the library board is happy to have him on board. So I think he'll be a great appointment. So do we have to confirm that appointment?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would ask for a motion to confirm Mr. Wright as the trustee of the library board of trustees.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the board confirm Ed Wright as a trustee in the library board of trustees. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving Mr. Wright, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Unanimous confirmation of Mr. Wright as a trustee. I'm sure he'll do a great job. The second is I want to bring everybody up to speed on what we're doing on our police chief search. So since we last met, we had 5 candidates invited to Brentwood for an assessment center that was run by CPSM. The assessment center put 5 candidates through a series of scenarios. There were 3 scenarios that were run that were designed to evaluate the candidates' various skills in certain areas. All of the evaluations of the assessment center were done by citizen volunteers. So there were a number of people who took a good amount of time, actually it was better part of 2 days, getting trained the first day and then participating in the assessment center the second day to evaluate those candidates. And then we had a representative of local law enforcement on each one of those boards as well. So I thought the assessment center was extremely well done. I got a number of the candidates who went through the assessment center tell me that they thought it was extremely well done. And I'm pleased to say that out of those 5, we were able to narrow our choice to 3. Those 3 people I met with on Thursday following the assessment center. And as a result of that round of interviews, Bola and I were able to narrow the candidate list to 2. So that's where we're at right now, is we have 2 finalists for the position of police chief. And one of them is right here in the room with us. It's Major Jim McIntyre. So he is one of the 2 finalists. And then another one is a fellow by the name of Joe Spees, who's a retired major from the St. Louis Police Department, St. Louis City PD. The Public Safety Committee had an opportunity on Friday to meet with Major McIntyre and Major Spees, and got a chance to kind of meet and greet them. My feeling is that rather than have the entire board, do things and make it look like a group interview that can be kind of intimidating, that maybe what we do is just have the public safety folks spend about a half an hour, and it really was just kind of a meet and greet. It was a glass of soda and a couple of cookies and, just a chance to talk, because, they'd already been through an awful lot. So I didn't want to increase the complication and all of that. So if you have any questions, certainly feel free to Google those names. You feel free to talk to members of the Public Safety Committee about their thoughts and impressions after meeting the 2 candidates. Of course, my door is always open, my cell phone's always on, so feel free to call me if you have any thoughts or observations on the 2 candidates. I now have 3 options available to me, and I am in the process of considering those 3 options. So the first would be to appoint Jim McIntyre. The second would be to appoint Joe Spees. And the third would be to appoint no one at this point in time and start the process over again. I have decided that I will not decide until February 19th. So at our next meeting, I will present you with one of those three options and ask you to approve or disapprove of my choice. So that's my report. But at this point, I really want to feel like, I really want to be sure that the board is comfortable with how we've gone about this. So if you have any questions about this process or anything, now would be a good time to ask. Brandon, can we wake you up?
No
Yes.
questions.
All right. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. Not a question, just a comment, if I can.
Sure.
I guess I wanted to compliment you and those under your direction and the city staff for going through the process and providing a very open and inclusive and transparent, whenever possible, opportunity for consideration of such an important position in our city. We have had opportunities and discussions of opportunities when these anniversaries took place in our past, and I don't believe that we took anywhere near as good advantage of the opportunity to do what we just did as this time. So I look forward. We did have a chance to meet with the gentlemen who are potential candidates, and I was encouraged by the process, and once again, just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. I will say this. I want to give a special thanks to Bola and to Jason Coates, who did a marvelous job of coordinating the whole process. Anytime you have to get 14 resident volunteers, 6 law enforcement officials, and 20 candidates' schedules to match up so that you can do these things, it's a bit of a circus. And Jason not only handled it very, very well, but he also did it with a smile on his face most of the time. So I have to give him a lot of credit for that, and Bola too for making that happen. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the citizen volunteers who gave their time to make this happen. I honestly, I was I am completely comfortable with the process and how it came off. And just so you know, my involvement in the process was almost nothing until 3 weeks ago. It really was conducted by citizen volunteers the entire way through, right? The telephone interviews, the resume screenings, and then the assessment center itself. Citizen volunteers and law enforcement officials on their own time from other jurisdictions that were helping us out. And it really, in my opinion, it could have been better. I was very, very pleased with the process. So I actually think we have a list of those volunteers, but I will pass it out to the board. And if you have a chance to thank some of your constituents, please do that, because they all got a nice certificate, but it would be nice if you all could recognize them as well. They really went above and beyond. Anyway, that's where we're at with the police chief. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with where we're at on that and up to date. Third thing on my report is we got an email today from Pat Kelly, who's the executive director of the Missouri Municipal League. And Pat indicated that the Municipal League grant program has voted to start considering multi-jurisdictional grants for its grant program, which has traditionally been focused on parks and that sort of thing. In addition to its parks program that usually runs in the summer. So that was very exciting to me because a couple things. The reason that they're doing that is because it allows them to consider bigger grant applications that benefit multiple jurisdictions and have sort of multi-purposes. And, it struck a chord with me. Who do I know that's running a great big project that involves multiple jurisdictions and addresses a major public problem? Oh, wait, I know. So, no, I thought it was a wonderful thing. So we immediately jumped all over that. It's hard telling how far that'll go and what exactly is on, but it's very encouraging, and I think it's just an example, Alderman Leahy, of what I was talking about earlier, of us getting, I think if we really start to look for ways to get people behind this project, I think we will find more and more ways to do that as we go. So I was very excited about that, and I'm looking forward to taking part in that. The last thing on my agenda is Bola and I were invited to meet with Mayor Sly James, who is the mayor of Kansas City. And Mayor James has a very interesting project that he's been working on for the last 4 years to make Kansas City a smart city. And by smart city, I don't mean he's going to raise the general IQ of the population or anything like that. He's actually working on using technology to better the administration of public services and the efficiency of city government. And Mayor James has won a number of awards for the progress that they've made thus far. Bola passed around, and I think she passed it to the entire Board of Aldermen, a fascinating article. If she didn't, I'll be happy to send it to you. A fascinating article about how they're using technology to measure street traffic and wear and tear on the streets so that they're not reacting to potholes, but actually using predictive software to determine where potholes are likely to develop, and then putting maintenance schedules in place for the busier streets in an effort to get out in front of the potholes instead of vice versa. So it's really interesting stuff. He's done an awful lot, and I'm sure members of his team have done a lot as well. So when we got the invitation, I said to Bola, I said, "How'd you like to take a field trip to Kansas City? I'd like to meet Mayor James and find out what he's done and what we can learn from him." So we're going to be heading over there on Wednesday next week, I believe it is, to a breakfast meeting with him and members of his team to find out what we can learn about Kansas City and bring back here to little old Brentwood. So if you've got any thoughts along those lines, or if you'd like to tag along, I put a +1 on the invitation, but we can certainly make it +2 or +3. And I've got at least 2 more seats in my car, so feel free to let me know if you'd like to do that. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a really neat initiative that he's got going over there, and I'm looking forward to what I can learn from it. So that's it for my report. Public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the longest time since I've been chairman, we have met on the 3rd Thursday of the month. That day became unavailable for me because of stuff I'm doing in my professional life. And so I asked the indulgence of the committee to try to pick another day. And with the help of city staff, we've picked the last Wednesday of every month. So our first newly scheduled Public Safety Committee meeting will be February 28th, 2018. And at that meeting, I think our main agenda item will be the discussion of the renewal of the ECDC contract, which is up for renewal this year.
All right, so public safety on 2/28, that's a Wednesday night, and the topic of discussion is going to be ECDC, so
Right.
feel free to pop around and hear what's going on with that. Public Works.
Well, our last meeting, when I scheduled the Public Works meeting, it'd been nice if a couple of the gentlemen on the board would have pointed out that I scheduled that on Valentine's Day. So we're moving our meeting to the day after Valentine's Day. It'll be right here at 4:30 on February 15th. Thank you.
And as a result, Alderman Lockmiller will remain married. Okay.
But if you need a good surgeon that can reattach heads, I've got one.
Yeah.
I thought you only cut your knees out from underneath.
I don't see our Director of Planning and Development with us
She's not
this
here
evening.
tonight, she has no report.
All right, no report. Ways and Means Committee, Alderman Dibbitt.
I have no report, Mr. Chairman.
No report. Mr. City Attorney?
No report, sir.
Madam City Administrator?
No report.
Madam Excise Commissioner?
No report.
Madam Library Liaison?
No report.
I've already done the Municipal League. Any announcements? Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have 2 announcements, if I may. The first announcement is the Ward 3 meeting for the month of February will be Tuesday night, the 27th, here at the council room at 7 p.m. All are invited. The second announcement, Your Honor, I'd like to extend a thank you to the Parks and Recreation and to Ms. Akande. We hosted a joint blood drive and bone marrow registration drive on Friday, the 26th at the rec center from 2 o'clock through 8 o'clock. We collected 92 pints of blood through the donations, and we were successful enough to get 31 new registrations for the bone marrow National Registry. And I do thank the citizens and the group that did come up and participate with us, but I am very grateful to the city for making the rooms and the facilities available. Things worked very, very nicely, and Eric's staff helped the Red Cross and the bone marrow people set up and take care of their needs. So thank you very, very much for a successful drive.
Thank you. I will say this about that, folks. I was a regular blood donor in college. It was very easy to do. We'd go up on campus and they'd be doing a drive, and you could go between classes and give a pint here and there. And I think I might have gotten close to a gallon over my college career, and then I sort of fell out of the habit because it wasn't nearly as convenient. And I got to say, the Red Cross is using technology very effectively. I now have an electronic blood donor card. They called me to schedule my next appointment, which is 2 days after the day on which I can next donate. And they're going to schedule me in at the South County Blood Donation Center on the 26th of March. So they've got everything. You can pre-register. You walk in, they stick a needle in your arm, you're out of there in 20 minutes. So it's pretty awesome. So I would encourage everyone to if you're able and willing to do that, it's a great thing to do. And shame on me for letting it go this long.
The need, unfortunately, is always high.
Yep, unfortunately. Any other announcements? Seeing none. New business? Do we have any new business? We don't have any new business. Second chance. Hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. Would anyone care to come forward and address the board on any topic of your choosing? Within the bounds of good taste, of course. Seeing none?
Your Honor, a motion to adjourn?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Aldermen adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We're adjourned.